Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. Let's get straight to it. Last video said Minnesota has a real problem, so this will just be part 2, but we're going to be talking about Daunte Wright. And I had already intended on doing a video about him, and I had a previous comment from another person that said, because I forgot his name, that I was ignorant. Which, in cases like that, I wouldn't necessarily agree with them. It's a lot of information to go through multiple things, and I was talking about Cariel Horn, and I was going to do a separate video for him. Now, the reason I'm talking about his in this regard is because there was a Minnesota police union head who blames Daunte Wright's death on his non-compliance. Sad thing is that this has been a normality in a lot of unarmed people being killed. The statement is always, he should have complied, should have complied, should have complied. I.e., they said, Daunte Wright, if he would have just complied, he was told he was under arrest. They were arresting him on a warrant for weapons. He set off a chain of events that unfortunately led to his death. He also stated that this is an unpopular statement. I'm not excusing it, but what we're seeing in policing these days is that non-compliance by the public. Now, this is what's really gonna mess with y'all. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. It's from D.L. Hughley's page, and on D.L. Hughley's page shows a 61-year-old man who is in custody after allegedly dragging an officer with his vehicle while striking him with a hammer following a dispute about masks or face masks at Menard's store. Now, this man backed his car up, hit multiple vehicles. Now, mind you, this was in Minnesota, so we're not talking about a different state. We're talking about Minnesota specifically. The suspect is shown fleeing with the police officer holding on to the vehicle. He wasn't shot or tased. This is where the problem comes in when we talk about disparity, racial issues, things like that. Literally, within a few days of each other, one young man is killed while another old man who is actually utilizing his vehicle as a weapon and using a hammer ends up walking home, ends up being arrested without injury. And he put a cop's life at risk by having him on the vehicle. You see what I'm saying? These are things that you have to pay attention to. It's not that black folks are just making these stories up. We all see them. They're all there. Daunte Wright getting arrested, jumps back into the vehicle, gets shot, dies when they when he makes it to the hospital. And everybody wants to bring up his arrest warrant. But here's the thing, having a warrant or an arrest on you does not mean that you get to be the sentencer and jury and executioner. Your job is just to apprehend the person, not kill them. This is what we want people to understand. You have to understand that. Because at the end of the day, you have the right to be judged by a group of your peers, judged by 12. But somehow it ends up where these young men or unarmed individuals are always being carried by 6. Now, I can say this for a surety. I've had these conversations. If he would have done something warranting him being shot and murdered and stuff like that, a lot of people wouldn't argue that. If he was shooting at the cops and got killed, nobody would even say something. They'd be like, hey, that's how it goes. You know, there's nothing you can say about that. But when you're unarmed, it's a different feeling. It's almost like, okay, now the conversation brings up, well, what steps should have been taken? And it's always the individual who is the one that's been killed that's always on trial for the steps that they went wrong at. Now, don't get me wrong with Kim Potter. She has been arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter. And everybody has their points and views on that. I mean, I've watched the video, very disheartening. I don't really say anybody should watch it because it's definitely shocking. But those two incidents with Daunte and the 61-year-old man shows the response levels that they have towards people of color and versus ones that may look like them. And that's what you need to take into accountability. You have to notice that there is really problems. And once again, this is supposed to be a liberal state, but yet they act and behave the same way as in a Jim Crow state. And that's what people got to understand. You got to stop making it sound like, oh, we're so much better because we're liberal and we're this and we're that. No, y'all still got the same problems. Obviously nothing's changed, because literally within a day of each other, and you can see the escalation from one to the other, how the reaction is done. 61-year-old man hitting a police officer with a hammer while he's holding onto a vehicle that he's driving off in. Don't you find that odd that he walks away unscathed, no injuries, no problems, nothing? But yet this young man who resists and jumps back in his vehicle ends up dead. You really got to think about that. And hey, I want to appreciate everybody who's checking out these videos, leaving comments. Hey, keep doing it. I really appreciate it. All right, everybody. Peace.